Hey guys, Enzo100 here. And first off, I just want to say I am not that good in Redstone for Bedrock Edition as I am in Java Edition, but I do have a lot of experience in command blocks for both versions. So, I decided to make a video of 5 Redstone components that I use for my command block creations. So, let's get started. Now, the first one on the list is actually the observer block, and the observer block has been very, very useful to me in my command block creations because there are a lot of things that I am not used to in Bedrock Edition, such as the tick delays and all that, and the observer actually helps me with that because in terms of making clocks, instead of using the repeat command block and then having to delay it a bit, I prefer having a repeat command block with a 0 tick delay hooked up to an observer clock. An observer clock looks like this. So basically, this type of clock honestly helps me a lot because it does. I think there's like a 2 or 3 tick delay, but that's fine. Mr. Cow, please get away. And yeah, actually, the observer has helped me a lot with other creations, not just clocks, but also those 1 tick pulses that I need for some command block creations, such as like probably scoreboards or even just potion effects. The observer does help a lot in that matter. So let's head on to number 2. The next one on the list is actually the comparator, and actually, I didn't really know much of why I use the comparator a lot. All I remember is that having a command block hooked up to a comparator and then it detecting the redstone signal that comes from it is actually really good because there are some times that I need certain command blocks to have a redstone output instead of some others. So basically, I would have a comparator hooked up to a redstone output, and then I would get a piece of redstone dust and even a redstone repeater, and then I would run it just like this, so that what happens is I could have a command block get its output, and then if it's strong enough, it either goes here or it goes here. That depends. And I like the usage of the comparator because it does note whether or not the redstone signal is strong enough. Unlike using the repeater, which has a 1 tick delay, this has a slightly less delay. So that's another upside to why I use the comparator. More than the repeater, actually, when it comes to taking out redstone signals. So let's move on to number 3. Now, number 3 would actually be a bit different if this was done on Java Edition because number 3 is actually the redstone block. The redstone block is it's actually a power source on its own. As you can see, it does emit I believe it emits a 15. Yeah, it does emit a 15 signal strength redstone output. So here's the thing. In Java Edition, there is something called quasi-connectivity. If you're a redstoner and you actually use redstone blocks a lot, there is such thing as quasi-connectivity, wherein if I power this piston, as you can see, it extends the redstone block because it is a movable power source. But in Java Edition, if I turn this lever, this piston arm will not retract because of quasi-connectivity, because this is indirectly powering this piston. But as you can see in Bedrock Edition, it is still a movable power source wherein the piston is still retracted even if it's hooked up to a redstone block, which in itself is already a real amazing thing, which is the reason why this block is one of my most used blocks in command block creations. Redstone block, you are amazing in Bedrock Edition, but sadly, I can't use you that much in Java Edition. Number 4 is actually going to be a bit strange because earlier I literally just said that I don't use repeaters that much, but actually, I do tend to use repeaters quite often, especially for redirecting signals because I don't like it when like you have this line right here. Of course, you need some direction to your command block system. So basically what I do is again take it. Actually, there is a reference for this. This is episode 1 of Geeky Commands. You should go watch it, even if the audio quality is bad, and I'm sorry. It is my first video after all, so like, yeah, you could cut me some slack for that, but I have a system that looks like this. This is a command block, basically. Don't don't tamper with it. It's a command block, okay? So, I know it's orange wool. So you have this comparator hooked up to this redstone dust. So like, here's the thing. If I had redstone dust here and here, it would automatically power both. But what I wanted is that it could go only in one direction. So I have it go like this so that it separates into two directions. And I could utilize even the space here without any redstone intertwining with it. And that's the reason why I use the repeater so much. And it's really useful. It's really useful, especially if you need a bit of a tick delay. So we have 1 tick, 2 ticks, 3 ticks, 4 ticks. So if you need a tick delay when it comes to using command blocks, definitely the repeater is the way to go. Last but not least is the sticky piston. Of course, the sticky piston is so useful, especially in command block creations like mine. And here's why. Earlier, I talked about observer clocks. Observer clocks are really something to, like, they need to be handled quite delicately. And so what I do is I have a piston hooked up to a lever, of course, or any sort of redstone output. And if I need to turn off the clock, I just retract the piston and the clock turns off. That's one major use of it. And then if I need to turn the clock back on, I just flick on the lever and the clock turns back on. I mean, come on. That is so useful, especially for certain creations that need clocks, which I personally use observer clocks and redstone hopper clocks. I usually use hopper clocks as well. And then another thing is that as I discussed earlier, quasi connectivity doesn't happen in Bedrock. And that's really useful because just imagine having to have, let's say we have 2 command blocks right here, and then while this is powering this, I need to move it so that this would power this command block, because command blocks are actually directional, they don't intertwine with each other. Now, just imagine I need to power, instead of this command block, I need to power this command block. Now, what I can do is that I can hook up a command block to this piston, that if the redstone signal emits, it will turn on this piston, so that what happens is, boom, you have this command block powered, and then follow it up with the quasi-connectivity problem. There is no quasi-connectivity problem, so if the condition of this is not met, you can automatically pull the piston back and it would power this command block again. I mean, that's really useful, especially for like conditional statements or conditional programming using command blocks. So that is one of the major good things about Bedrock Edition. There is no quasi connectivity, but personally, I prefer Java Edition Redstone, which does have quasi connectivity. But how would I get over that? Basically, I would just use a better syntax for Java Edition, because normally Java Edition syntax, I'm more used to that. So, yeah, there is that. And if you guys like this video, leave a like. If you like the content that I've been putting out recently, why don't you consider subscribing and following me on Twitter? I do post a lot of updates. Well, not really a lot. I post updates on my Twitter for any videos and whatnot. And I have a new series right now that is recreating Decked Out. So if you guys are into that, especially if you're a Hermitcraft fan, I can say that you should go check that out, because if you want to know how to design a game like that using command blocks, man, you should go check that out. I highly recommend it. And other than that, I've been EnzoS100, signing off.